In the heart of the forest near Wulai Waterfalls, the villagers of Nkinkim gathered under the cover of dawn mist. Drums echoed faintly in the hills as Nana Akua, the revered priestess, with white chalk markings on her face, stood barefoot on sacred stones. The sound of water crashing behind her grew still in the minds of the people as she raised her staff. Her voice, low, trembling, divine, pierced the air. From the womb of a barren woman shall come twins, bound by spirit and destiny. One shall rise, but only if the locks remain untouched. Should the blade touch the sacred hair, grief will walk among us. Gasps followed her final words. Birds scattered into the sky. Some said her voice had changed, like wind through calabash. Others claimed the waterfall stopped flowing for a heartbeat. But one thing was certain. A prophecy had been born, and the gods had spoken. Among the crowd, Korkor, a woman wrapped in blue kente, fell to her knees. She had prayed for years. Could the gods finally be listening? Beside her, Kwaku, her husband, frowned. He had long stopped believing in riddles spoken by spirit-touched women. But the winds that stirred Nana Akua's white cloth whispered of change. And far above the falls, the sun broke the clouds, not in full light, but as a sliver, a quiet promise. For 15 years, Korkor rose before dawn, lit palm oil lamps, and walked barefoot to the shrine beneath the old silk cotton tree. She had no sons, no daughters, only whispers behind her back and an empty mat beside her every night. But after the prophecy, something shifted. One night, as she knelt with beads in hand, the wind turned warm. The leaves rustled, not with noise, but with voice. You shall carry the river's gift. 2 sons, one will walk among shadows, the other will shine like dawn. But neither shall be touched by the blade. Korkor gasped. Her hands flew to her belly. She was alone, but not alone. That month, her body changed. She no longer spat out morning food. Her breasts grew tender. The village midwife placed hands on her and nodded in awe. Twin, she said. Blessed children. The village of Nkinkim buzzed with gossip. Some praised her, others feared her. Kwaku, her husband, tried to hide his joy. He claimed coincidence. But at night he caught himself whispering thanks. When the time came, the sky darkened early. Thunder rolled over the hills. 2 cries rang out in unison. 2 boys, tangled in each other's arms, born with thick locks like woven thread, soft and wet as river moss. They named them Ebo and Kojo. A pot broke by itself in the hut that night. An owl landed on their rooftop, silent and unblinking. The priestess sent word. Do not cut their hair. They are not just sons. They are a covenant. Korkor wept. Not out of fear, but fulfillment. For the first time in her life, her arms were full. From their earliest days, Ebo and Kojo were inseparable, but not identical. Ebo was quiet, always watching. When he crawled, the hens stopped clucking. When he laughed, lizards stilled on the walls. Kojo was louder, faster, always chasing birds and attention. But it was Ebo the elders noticed. At age 5, Ebo wandered into the forest beyond the cocoa trees. Kwaku, searching, found him calmly seated before a coiled green snake. The creature hissed, fangs bared, but Ebo simply stared. The snake lowered its head and slithered away. News spread fast. Some called him child of the spirits. Others whispered he was cursed. At 6, Ebo began hearing drums no one else heard. He would rise in the night and hum tunes that hadn't been played in generations. The old drummers at the shrine recognized the rhythms and swore they came from the ancestors. In the village square, people gave way when he passed. At the river, even elders stepped back when he dipped his hands. Kojo noticed. Korkor tried to praise both, but her eyes always lingered longer on Ebo. Kwaku offered Kojo more yams and chores, hoping it would balance things, but it didn't. One day, when Ebo helped an old woman lift firewood, she looked at him and said, "You are more than what you seem, child, but you must remain whole." That night, Kojo watched his brother sleep. He reached out to touch Ebo's thick, matted locks, but pulled his hand back. A storm rumbled far off. Ebo didn't stir, but somewhere in the distance a lion growled. Kojo had learned to smile through tight teeth. Whenever the villagers praised Ebo, he clapped. When the elders invited Ebo to sit closer to the fire, Kojo sat back in the dark, carving shapes into the sand with a stick. He was the elder twin, born first by a heartbeat. But no one cared. One market day, a traveling priest spotted the boys. He stared at Ebo and bowed, then turned to Kojo and said, "Ah, you are the other one." Those words bit deep. That night, Kojo refused to eat. When Korkor asked why, he only shrugged. Days passed. Ebo grew quieter, more revered. Kojo louder but unseen. At nightfall, Kojo asked Kweku, "Baba, I have lice and my hair itches. Can I cut it?" Kwaku took a long look at him and said, "It's your mind telling you to cut it. I cannot stop you." He passed the local scissor to Kojo and said nothing else. Kojo took a walk to the river, knelt down, and without hesitation, he cut off his hair. "If I'm invisible with it, maybe I'll matter without it," he said. The sky dimmed unnaturally. Birds fell silent. A strange wind swept through the trees sharp, and not of this world. Kojo ran his fingers through his now short hair and felt free. But something inside him had shifted, not lifted, lost. He returned home and said nothing. Korkor stared at him for a long time. She didn't shout. She just turned her back. That night, Nana Akwa's drums beat without hands, and far beyond the village, something stirred in the shadows. Far from King Kim, deep in the Afram plains, the ground trembled beneath terrified hooves. Farmers whispered of a lion unlike any other, massive, golden-maned, with eyes that glowed like firewood at night. Crops were trampled. Goats vanished. Hunters never returned. The beast was given a name, Agyaman, the beast, a forest god in lion's form, angered and awakened. In his palace carved from red stone, Togbi Kuma, king of the region, gathered his elders. The lion's path now edged toward the trade roads. The people were restless. "Send word to all villages," he commanded. "Whosoever slays the lion shall be rewarded. A plot of land, gold, and the hand of my daughter, Adzo." The drummer spread the message far and wide. Warriors sharpened their blades. Soothsayers cast bones. All hoped to claim the prize. In King Kim, the news arrived at sunset. Kwaku scoffed at it. "Another hunter will die." But Ebo said nothing. That night, while others slept, he sat beneath the baobab tree, staring at the moon. His locks danced slightly in the wind. Kojo watched him from the shadows. "You want to be the hero now, too," he said, arms crossed. Ebo turned calmly. "Not for gold, not for Adzo, for peace." Kojo scoffed, but behind his eyes something twisted. The next day, villagers gathered to debate. No one from Kain Kiem volunteered. The lion was too near the gods. But later that night, with nothing but a cloth bundle, his locks tied behind his back, Ebo slipped away beneath the stars, toward the forest, toward fate. He left a single palm leaf by his mat. In it, a note. "I will not wait for destiny to knock. I will meet it in the wild." At dawn, Kwaku awoke to silence. Ebo's mat was empty. His sandals were gone. Only a palm leaf with a message remained. Korkor sat beside it, trembling. "He's gone after the lion." Kwaku blinked. That foolish boy. But the words didn't land. They broke in his mouth, bitter and dry. As the sun rose, news spread quickly. Ebo had left in the night, alone, without a blessing, without a goodbye. Some said it was bravery, others, madness. Kwaku paced the yard and rubbing his palms together. His mind raced back to Kojo's request to cut his hair. Had he encouraged this unraveling? He never believed in prophecies. He believed in work, in yams, in what he could hold. But now, with Ebo walking toward death, the weight of Kwaku's doubt settled on his shoulders like soaked cloth. At the village square, he heard whispers. It is because the father doubted the gods. One twin has angered the spirits. The other pays the price. He turned away. His fists clenched. At the riverbank, he found Kojo shirtless, skipping stones. His short hair gleamed in the sun. You said nothing, Kwaku said, voice low. Kojo shrugged. I didn't stop him, if that's what you mean. Kwaku stared at him, and for the first time he saw not a boy, but a stranger. One who had been growing in silence, twisted by shadows. That evening, Kwaku sat beside Korkor. Neither spoke. He was the one, she whispered. The one meant to rise. Kwaku nodded, eyes distant. And I was the one who taught him to doubt. The wind carried the scent of coming rain. Somewhere beyond the hills, the lion roared. The path into the Afram forest was narrow and choked with mist. Ebo moved silently, guided by the whisper of leaves and the rhythm of his breath. The further he walked, the more the forest seemed to breathe with him, alive, watching. He carried only a satchel of cassava, a slingshot, and the faith of his mother tucked into the beads around his wrist. By the second day, the drums of the village were a distant echo. The sun barely pierced the canopy. Shadows danced like spirits, and the wind hissed through the trees like whispered warnings. But Ebo pressed on. At a stream, he met a wounded hawk. Its wing bent unnaturally. Without thinking, he tore a strip from his wrapper and gently bound it. The bird blinked once, then remained beside him until dawn, when it finally flew. That morning, he carved a circle in the dirt and knelt to pray. I do not come for reward. I come to protect. At midday, he heard the low rumble. Not thunder, a growl. Agyaman the beast stood across a clearing, massive, golden, with eyes like molten bronze. Its mane rippled like fire, and its paws made no sound on the earth. It did not pounce. It stared. Ebo did not run. He removed his slingshot, placed it down. He stepped forward slowly, locking eyes with the lion. I am not your enemy, he said softly, but I will not let you harm them. The lion blinked. Then it roared. Birds scattered, trees trembled, and the silence that followed was ancient. Ebo reached into his beads and whispered his brother's name. Kojo. Not in anger, but in forgiveness. And then, with steady hands, he reached for a stone. Back in Nakinkam, Kojo sat beneath the mango tree, sharpening a stick that didn't need sharpening. Every hour, someone passed by, whispering Ebo's name. Some said he had faced the lion. Others said he was dead. Kojo said nothing. Until a child ran through the village, breathless. He's coming. Everyone gathered at the edge of the village. From the dust, Ebo appeared, barefoot, torn wrapper, but standing tall and alive. Behind him, on a long branch, was a lion's paw print burned into cloth. Proof. Victory. Cheers erupted. Drums thundered. Korkor fell to her knees in tears. But Kojo remained seated. That night, as the village celebrated, Ebo sat alone beside the baobab. Kojo approached slowly, shadows clinging to his shoulders. I didn't think you'd come back, Kojo said. Ebo looked up, his eyes tired but warm. I didn't think I'd have to leave. Silence. Kojo dropped to his knees. I cut my hair because I hated being second. I wanted to be the one, but I wasn't. I'm sorry. Ibo didn't speak. He simply reached out and placed a hand on his brother's shoulder. We were never meant to be first or second. We were meant to be together. Kojo broke, shoulders shaking, tears falling. At the edge of the compound, Kwaku watched, arms crossed, and slowly nodded. He turned and walked toward the shrine where Nana Akua waited. "What now?" he asked her. She smiled faintly. "Now the prophecy begins." As dawn approached, the two brothers stood side by side beneath the rising sun. One born to rise, the other born to return, both finally whole.